What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we're going to be taking a look at a promotional Transformers card. Now, we've only ever looked at one promotional card before from Transformers, because we've only ever had one promotional card from Transformers before. We looked at Omega Supreme recently. That is going to be coming out in Loot Crate, as well as being given out in release tournaments in the UK. And I am extremely excited about that card. I have popped a link to that one in the description because I did do a video about it. Go check it out, ladies and gentlemen. It looks fun. But now we've actually got a Lunar Bumblebee promo. And like a lot of people, when I first saw this, I thought it was fake. It was popped onto the official Transformers group. And it kind of looks almost right. But it didn't quite look exactly like we expected promo 1, and we'd not seen any other language cards before, which took a bit of us by surprise, and it was the only thing we've seen so far is some Malaysian site which is giving it away along with Omega Supreme when you buy a booster box of the set, and we all went, well, it's a nice looking fake. And then Drew Nolosco, sorry about the pronunciation, came out on the official group and was like, no, it's real. It is a lunar-themed Bumblebee character card in the CS Chinese Simplified language to help celebrate the launch of the Chinese Simplified version of the Transformers TCG in certain Chinese-speaking territories. It is real, it is an official promo, and many of you, like me, who were sat there going, wait, why is Omega Supreme number 2 promo? Who's the number 1 promo? It's Bumblebee. Now, as for how to get it, I have no idea. There is a website, Shopee, where you can buy a booster box of Wave 2. Incidentally, the booster box for Wave 2, it works out like 62 English pounds. That's really cheap. And you get Omega Supreme as well, and they only ship within Malaysia. Incidentally, if anyone watching this has a shipping address in Malaysia and could forward this on to me, hit me up on Twitter at the Wossy, would you? Because I would very much like to get one of these. Okay, so with all of that out of the way, we know what it is, we know how we're getting it. What does it actually do? Now, I am relying on the translation that was provided by Alex Brock over on the Facebook group. So, thank you very much. If it's wrong, blame that dude. Now, as for the stats, what do we see here? We see an 8-cost character, which is average, according to Wave 1 at least. And this is technically a Wave 1 promo. With 8 health, which is 2/3 of average. 2 defense, which is average. And 3 attack, which is 1 lower than or 3/4 of average. These are bad stats. These are not good stats. To put this into context, if we look at the Bumblebee Brave Warrior, this was the Bumblebee which came around in the starter set. It has better stats. Not all, it might be, no, objectively better stats. It has 1 higher attack in bot mode, and it has 1 more health. It is better. But what does it actually do? Well, according to the lovely Alex Brock, in bot mode, when this character has 5 or more damage counters on it, it has Tough 2. Nice. Of course, we could compare that to Bumblebee Brave Warrior that just plain has Tough 1. And look, Tough 2 is better than Tough 1. That's probably a fairly obvious statement, but I thought it was worth pointing it out. And Tough 2 is not something we give away lightly in the Transformers TCG. Tough 2 just doesn't happen all that much. If we look at the character cards from Wave 1, can anyone tell me how many of them had Tough 2 as an ability? None. Can anyone tell me how many Wave 2 characters have Tough 2? It's actually 2 of them. Skydive Air Warfare Specialist, one of the aerial bots, does have Tough 2 when you are in alt mode. And Superion, who is the combiner of the aerial bots, does have Tough 2. Kind of cool, right? So yeah, there are actually a couple that do have them, but they're the only ones, unfortunately. And actually, at this stage, I do need to remind you about Warpath. Warpath has a great little skill in bot mode, which prevents enemies using Tough, so if you're relying on it, this is going to be bad. Tough 2 is really good. There are no action cards that give you Tough in Wave 1. And, I mean, in terms of upgrades, you can get Tough 2. You can grab Tough 2 by putting a reinforced plating on, but then that's your only armor, and your opponent can get rid of it with something like a ramming speed, and it's really not the unideal situation. So, I've just explained to you why Tough 2 is good. Let me burst a bubble and say, remember, this has only got 5 damage counters on. Yay? Anyone really fancy having 5 damage counters on an 8 health character? I don't, personally. And this makes a huge difference. Because if it was 4 damage counters, then you'd be able to use Force Field. And Force Field, if you would take 5 or more damage, would bring it down to 4 damage. And then you would be able to have Tough 2. But it's not 4, it's 5. So you're expecting your opponent to do exactly 5, 6, or 7 damage. So they're not KOing you. That's harsh. Even if you go full Tough and full blue and all of that, it's not actually guaranteed by any stretch of the imagination you're ever going to get this working. And that's a little bit sad. As for the alt mode skill here, when you flip to this mode, this character has bold 2 until end of turn. And look, bold 2's quite nice. Bold 2's a good amount. It means you're flipping 2 extra cards when you're attacking. And can anyone tell me how many characters had bold 2 as a skill back in Wave 1? It depends how you measure it. There's basically 4. We had Barrage, which had bold 2 but only when attacking a damaged enemy. We had Optimus Prime Freedom Fighter that had bold 2 just generally. Prowl gave one of your other cars bold 2 when you flipped into its alt mode. And Starscream Air Commander had bold 2. So it kind of depends how you measure it. Of course, Grimlock gave one of your characters bold 3. So that's a little bit better. Having said that, there's nothing to stop you combining it with something like Supercharge and just going full bold and trying to get a huge amount of bold out there. Thing is this good enough? Given that we don't like the stats, and given that we don't like the bot mode skill, is this good enough? Because when we look at Bumblebee Brave Warrior, when you flip into alt mode, each of your characters gets Pierce 1 until end of turn, guarantees 1 damage. Is that better? Arguably. Arguably it is. I have nothing against bold 2. Bold 2 is fine, but you can give any character bold 2 with a flamethrower. This essentially gives you a flamethrower or a reinforced plating, depending on which mode you're in. And I worry that that's just not good enough. And even when we look at in terms of designations here, we're just getting a little bit short-changed. You are a melee character, regardless of which mode you're in. Now, melee character is good. That means you get access to body armor, which gives you tough 3, and power sword, which gives you bold 3. Now, clearly, this combos beautifully with your skills. This can essentially give you either bold 5 or tough 5. That is good. That is going to give you a really nice amount of attack or a really nice amount of defense. But you see, Bumblebee Brave Warrior was a melee character in alt mode and in bot mode. And Bumblebee Legendary Warrior was a melee character in both modes. Here's the difference. They were also leaders in both modes. Yeah. So now I'm just like, well, hang on a second. I've got worse stats, arguably worse skills, and I'm not a leader. Now, in reality, the only thing you lose by not being an Autobot leader is Matrix of Leadership. That is the only card which is there for Autobot leaders. But it gives all of your other characters +1 attack and Pierce 1. That's a good card. and you lose access to it here. I should mention that being a card means you can have turbo boosters, which untaps the car when you attach it, and start your engines, which flips over all your cars and untaps one of them. But you're not a leader. And now we're in this situation where you're an average cost character with below average skills, significantly below in terms of health, an really awkward to use skill in bot mode to the point where you're not a million miles away just being vanilla in that mode, and then an alright but fairly generic skill in alt mode. I think this is worse than Bumblebee Brave Warrior while being 2 stars more expensive. And I don't mean worse taking into account the stars. I mean if they cost the same amount, this would be worse, but they don't. I mean, look, it's clearly a beautiful card, and I don't know where else to get it other than that Shopee website. I will, of course, be on the lookout for it, and if I find it, ladies and gentlemen, I will let you know. And I want to get one of these cards. It's beautiful, and it's lovely, and it's a promo, and it means that the game's launching in Chinese-speaking countries, which is brilliant for the health and the growth of the game. And it's another promo card, which I love. There's a lot to like here. I just don't think it's a very good card. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. But hey, regardless of whether you agree or disagree, I would love to know what you think in the comment section. So go nuts, but please do remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk about, well, Transformers and a whole bunch of other games. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.